Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football Dill. Late Monday afternoon. I think a lot of Oregon Duck fans, Dylan Gabriel included, breathing a massive sigh of relief. Tez Johnson, not to believe season-ending injury that he sustained against Michigan. And, we talked about this Sunday afternoon, like, hey, Tez Johnson, we probably don't need him for Maryland, Wisconsin, and Washington. Like, that, get this kid healed up. Let him be back for the Big Ten championship and college football playoff run. But I do think it opens up a unique conversation, but I'd also venture to say a unique opportunity for Oregon to allow some of these other pass catchers to really step up. And Dill, there is no doubt in my mind that this wide receiver room for the Oregon Ducks is supremely talented. Now the question is, a bunch of these guys are going to get some opportunity to kind of build a relationship for Dylan Gabriel, put an imprint on this Oregon offense. The conversation I want to get into is who's going to step up and what's this Oregon offense going to look like from a pass catcher standpoint with Tez Johnson sidelined for a little bit of time. And again, I think the big storyline here is that Tez Johnson is going to be back for the college football playoffs, it sounds like. That being said, who is going to step up outside of Tez Johnson? Fired up to get into this one. So many different takes that you can have. So for the Oregon Duck fans, let it fly in the comment section. Look, if we're making predictions in terms of who's stepping up in the pass catcher room, what do you think it looks like? To the Oregon fans, we can't thank you all enough for all the support you guys have shown. It's no secret. We love talking this program. The amount of support the Oregon fans continue to show to the boys, it's amazing. Appreciate you guys. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Let it fly in the comment section. Dill, let's pull up this Oregon Ducks depth chart. I'm going to kick it to you here first. Replacing Tez Johnson is almost an impossible task. What do you think this Oregon offense looks like, or what would you like to see from this Oregon offense over the next couple of weeks in terms of pass catchers stepping up here?
I mean, honestly, the guy I'm going to be looking at is Kenyan Sadiq, because I think when Terrence Ferguson was down, you saw him get his chance to emerge. I thought he played really good football. Again, I think he can work the middle of the field, eat up some of those targets. Obviously, Trayshawn Holden's going to be a big one because they really hadn't gotten him going. After Tez Johnson went down, he got off in that Michigan game. But when I'm looking at like a new face almost to emerge, I think Kenyan Sadiq's going to get a really good opportunity. And I think he should still be a part of this offense even when Tez Johnson's on the field. So I'd like to see him kind of get rolling, and I also don't want to see them pull him off necessarily when Tez Johnson comes back.
You're preaching to the choir, brother. Like I don't. The Oregon fans can attest to this. Whenever I'm talking Oregon football, like I'm talking Kenny Sadiq. Outside of Tez Johnson, who's probably my favorite Oregon Duck, Kenny Sadiq's a very, very close second. I mean, there's no bigger fan of Kenny Sadiq. And Dill, the thing that separates him from last year, this dude is blocking his butt off on the perimeter. I mean, he's getting it done. The reason I don't think you could see him that much in 2023 as a true freshman, I don't think he was physically ready to be an inline blocker and kind of take on some of those responsibilities outside of just being a really unique athlete. Now you can tell he's still a special athlete. I mean, they don't grow him 245 running 10.7s in the 100-meter dash. That's rare stuff. That being said, now that he can block on the perimeter, block in line, it allows you to get him involved more. And Dill, maybe with Tez Johnson going out, I mean, Oregon they'll mix in some 2 tight end sets, but they like to keep Trayshawn Holden, Evan Stewart, and Tez Johnson on the football field. With Tez Johnson out for a couple of weeks, I wonder if you see more 2 tight end sets, because my love for Kenny Sadiq does not come at the expense for how much respect I have for Terrence Ferguson as a pass catcher and what he brings to this Oregon offense as well. But Dill, you look at the numbers for Kenny Sadiq, I mean, 20 targets. He has 18 of those catches. So a 90% completion percentage when Kenny Sadiq is targeted, which is a ludicrous number. 200 yards after the catch on the year, 6 mixed tackles forced. Look, I respect that Oregon is evidently trying to get him involved. It's very clear that they want to get him involved. Hey, Will Stein, I want him even more involved in the month of November, especially when you're trying to replace the production of Tez Johnson these next couple of weeks.
Yeah, and he's one of going to be the ones, like, again, you just look at where he's going to work. I think he can do a lot of damage just because, I mean, you talk about how dangerous Tez Johnson is, how tough a matchup he is in the middle of the field. I think Kenny Sadiq can be a similar issue because he is too athletic for linebackers and too big for nickel corners. So, again, like, you talk about how you create those matchups that you love when you have Tez Johnson on the field. I think he can create those more so than you can with Terrence Ferguson, because Terrence Ferguson he isn't the same as Kenyan Sadiq in terms of an athlete and some of the versatility he has
So
to play that jumbo slot.
what I would like to, I'm sorry for cutting you off, is another reason I want to see Kenny Sadiq more involved is you kind of hit it on the head, like extremely versatile. Like he can get a gun in line. Dill, you could play Kenny Sadiq at that after, like you could play him as a slot wide receiver. He is plenty athletic and fast enough to do that as well. And so I wonder if they get creative with, you might not necessarily call it a 2 tight end set because we're just going to treat Kenny Sadiq maybe as a wide receiver in the offense in the month of November. We'll see how they go, but that's when you said the 2 tight end sets and more Kenny Sadiq, that is the first thought that popped into my mind as well. I think the second thing is maybe just the increased emergence of Evan Stewart. Now, Evan Stewart, when he was called upon to step up, specifically in that Ohio State game, it was very clear that they were bracketing. They were putting a lot of safety help to Tez Johnson. Evan Stewart had one-on-ones on the boundary, and he made Ohio State pay. Without Tez Johnson, I think Evan Stewart kind of emerges as that clear number one. I'm kind of excited for Dillon Gabriel and Evan Stewart to, build a little bit more of that chemistry that I don't think's fully there. Like I think there's a little bit more of a gear that you can reach with this Oregon offense with the emergence of Evan Stewart being that true wide receiver one. When Tez Johnson comes back, I think the next couple of weeks, though, it represents a really good opportunity for Evan Stewart to get increasingly involved in this Oregon offense.
And really be that wide receiver one, because you haven't really seen him get to take that role again. He's kind of, I don't want to say relegated to being kind of their down the field passing attack. I think he has a skill set, though, that they haven't necessarily had to utilize completely because Tez Johnson eats up so much of that middle of the field target share. Again, you look, when you go back to that Texas A&M film, Evan Stewart's a lot more than a vertical threat. I mean, he's a really, really gifted route runner, really, really good after the catch. Again, I think we'll get to see more of his skill set really applied to this Oregon offense. Because, again, right now you've seen a fair amount of attacking down the field with him, and he certainly has that in his bag. That's been very obvious. But there is a lot more that he can do for this.
You make no, like I will double down on this take that I had coming into the year. Evan, still, might be even higher than me on Evan Stewart, because over a year ago when we were heading into the 2023 season, so after the true freshman year of Evan Stewart at Texas A&M, I have you on record. We can go back and pull the clips. Evan Stewart is the second best wide receiver in the country behind Marvin Harrison Jr. Now, you might have been reaching a little bit, but our love for Evan Stewart does not waver. Like, this kid is an absolute dude for Oregon, and he's going to get more involved. Now, I think we mentioned Trayshawn Holden. It became pretty evident that Trayshawn Holden is going to get more involved, probably the most underrated wide receiver in the country. Like, he's a wide receiver 3 for Oregon, probably wide receiver 1 certainly on Michigan, our team. Justice Lowe. He's not as flashy as Tez Johnson. He's not as flashy as some of the other wide receivers in this room. Another guy that blocks his tail off and is reliable when it's come to catching the football. He's probably going to be that wide receiver that gets more playing time with the absence of Tez Johnson. But let's take it a little bit further and talk about some other wide receivers that we're probably going to get to see over the next couple months. Kind of a weird one. And Oregon fans, I looked. I don't have any updates on Gary Bryant. Like, Gary Bryant would be the first guy that comes to my mind as like that guy that's waiting to crack the lineup. Obviously hasn't been healthy. I wonder if Gary Bryant gets back anytime soon and what that might look like, because I think he would be a guy that you're looking at. Dill, I'm going to go to a little bit off the beaten path. I think there's going to be a lot of fans that are talking about Jerrion Dickey, who I will talk about. I'm going to go to the true freshman, Jeremiah McClellan. Late flip from Ohio State. Love this kid out of high school. You've seen some few things, but some bright things from Jeremiah McClellan. You've heard some really good things. Dill, this seems like an opportunity, and I don't know if he'll be like an impact guy for Oregon in the college football playoff run, but man, if I'm an Oregon fan, I cannot wait to see this kid on the football field. 11-second 100-meter guy, 6 foot, 200 pounds. Body control is absolutely ludicrous with this kid. I would not be complaining one bit if we get a little Jeremiah McClellan the next couple weeks here.
Frankly, I think it's a good chance to kind of figure out who your guy is going to be next year, because you look, I mean, you're going to lose. I'm pretty sure Evan Stewart's going to go to the draft. I definitely am not positive about that, but there's definitely a chance he does. Tez Johnson's obviously gone. Trayshawn Holden probably going to be gone. So you do maybe get your chance to figure out who's going to be the alpha dog, who's going to be the leader coming back into that room for next year. Because again, I think right now you just haven't seen the young guys get much of a chance because you're so deep. Or really, I mean, you just have those top 3 guys, and they've been going and being your guys all year. I'm kind of interested to see who emerges from that group, and I'm kind of looking at the Ryan Pelham, Jeremiah McClellan, Jurian Dickey, and Justice Lowe. Like, who's going to be the guy that you're looking towards next year? Is like, all right, this is kind of what we're going to build the offense around a little bit.
You could include. I mean, Kyle Casper's now with an injury, but he was a really intriguing guy going back to the spring game. Dill, all right, we got a lot of things to worry about in 2024, aka national championship. But John, I'm gonna paint you a picture real quick. We'll close it out on this. Next year's wide receiver room. Okay, Evan Stewart, Tez Johnson, Trayshawn Holden, they leave. Okay. You got Jurian Dickey going into his 3rd year. You got Jeremiah McClellan and Ryan Pelham, 2 of which I really liked out of high school. You have DeCorian Moore and Dallas Wilson coming into the 2025 class. We talk about this Oregon wide receiver room being loaded in 2024. Like, you buckle up for 2025 because this wide receiver is going to be real special in 2025 as well. We'll close it out. You got Kenny Sadiq coming back. Like, he's got to be back, and he's probably my 2nd favorite player on this football team. We'll close it out there. Again, in no way are we happy with, like, Tez Johnson, my number 1 favorite player on this Oregon team. We're really relieved that he's coming back. I'm sure a lot of Oregon fans are too. But
and just for the simple fact, I mean, this team is far better with him than without.
Yeah,
like, again, we're talking like they have some guys on the bench who can kind of ride them out through his injury. But make no mistake, he's still the guy that this offense runs through. He's still probably the most important player, aside from maybe Dylan Gabriel on this team. So it's big 100%. That he's coming back, because if you're really going to make that run through the national championship, you really, really want.
Yeah, but from just like and it's probably a little bit of like the recruiting nerd in me. Like, I'm kind of excited to see what guys step up and like who are we going to get to see in the month of November that we haven't really gotten to see a ton from yet. Again, Oregon fan, like, take your shot. Plant your flagpole in the comment section. Who do you think steps up with the absence of Tez Johnson? Fired up that he's not going to be done for the season. Again, one of my favorite players in all of college football. Dill, he makes me think I got a chance to make the league. Like, I ain't that big of a guy, but I'm gritty. Tez Johnson's great. I don't move like Tez Johnson, but again, I love Tez Johnson. Happy he's back, or happy he will be back. Appreciate you guys rocking with the fellas. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. We'll talk to y'all later. Peace.